about Star Trek. No, not that one. And that one can wait. Oh, dang, that's too far ahead. No, I want to talk about the best Trek, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Sometimes considered the gloomy middle child of the Star Trek family, Deep Space Nine emerged into the angsty 90s after the runaway success and optimism of The Next Generation. The success of that show prompted the caretakers of Star Trek to create this new series that explored stories of religious tolerance.
Is there a place in your school for the prophets?
No.
Political intrigue.
I bribed men to cover the crimes of other men.
The horrors of war.
1 minute he's tying this bandage around my arm, talking his head off. And the next minute he's lying flat on his back with a hole in his chest.
And, other things.
That is how the solids experience intimacy.
Not all solids.
While Deep Space Nine didn't attain the same level of popularity as its predecessors when it first aired, it was still more Star Trek at a time when Paramount couldn't get enough Star Trek licenses to peddle out. That meant more merch to sell to fans, and more merch in the 90s meant more video games. The first game is the long in gestation Crossroads of Time from renowned licensed developer Novotrade and publisher Playmates Interactive. With development started in 1993, just before the show's premiere, the project went through a troubled 2-year process before it was released. The game was always going to be a side-scrolling adventure game, but the initial intent was to make a game of exploration and helping other characters on the Deep Space Nine station, often by cribbing plots from the episodes of the TV show.
I cannot give you what you deny yourself.
I'm sorry?
Look for solutions from within, Commander.
This design morphed as the license holders eased the reins and the original designer stepped away from the role for nearly a year, allowing new designers to reinterpret the game with a focus on combat. Faced with little time to course correct, the developers ultimately released a hybrid of the two visions in a genre dubbed the cinematic platformer. Some sections of the game were dedicated to aiding fellow crew members and station residents, while other areas were focused on shooting down enemies and exploring long and uninspired platforming sections of the nearby planet Bajor. So many caverns. The game looks good on the Sega Genesis, less good on the SNES, and does allow for a compelling interpretation of the characters on 16-bit consoles. But the gameplay and controls are clunky at best. Platforming is a chore, and any section of the game that requires climbing on ledges is doomed to let down even the most dedicated fan of the show, let alone a casual player. Numerous interesting elements also had to be cut, such as the ability to play as women on the show, Major Kira and Lieutenant Dax, and a level in which Chief O'Brien, the station's engineer, would attempt to help his alien friend escape from cold-blooded hunters. Oh, to dream of what might have been. While Novotrade worked on their 16-bit platformer, a different developer and publisher were putting their own spin on the license for the first PC game featuring stories from Deep Space Nine.
Computer?
Released in 1996, Harbinger was a point-and-click adventure game developed by Dawn DeGlow's Stormfront Studios and published by Viacom New Media, a video game publishing arm of the massive Viacom Paramount media empire. The intent to make a point-and-click adventure game based on Deep Space Nine was announced prior to this game in the form of advertisements for a game called The Hunt, which would have featured 2D characters in a style similar to adventure games from LucasArts. That project was cancelled, likely because a CD-based mega hit called Myst rocked the adventure game market with its slick pre-rendered graphics. This new market trajectory led to Stormfront's focus on a Myst-style point-and-click adventure in which the player takes on the role of a diplomat who must use conversation trees and diplomacy
My name is Bannock.
to navigate the mysteries aboard Deep Space Nine and beyond,
I'm with the Tyrian delegation of the United Federation of Planets.
as well as the occasional bout of blasting away robotic drones bent on destroying the station.
Now!
While those shooting gallery segments are more annoying than fun, their difficulty can be adjusted to advance past them to the real meat of the game. Lots and lots of talking.
Shipbuilding. State the nature of your business.
I have shipbuilding business.
Commencing visual identification. Stand still. Identity not established. Control has been transferred to tactical. This holo program will terminate.
It is actually a true highlight of the game, and indeed any good game based on Deep Space Nine, that the player is allowed to roam the station and speak to characters from the show. For example, an early conversation with Quark, the station's bartender, can lead to a number of different outcomes, including getting blackout drunk. And any Star Trek game that features drunken space diplomats has captured the true spirit of the license.
He's coming around. Tyrians have such low tolerance levels.
Video game publishers cooled on the prospect of Deep Space Nine just as the series began to heat up, with the Dominion War storyline in the final 3 seasons.
Well, Worf, did I not promise you a glorious battle?
It's everything I hoped for.
Although development would have been in progress during the show's final season in 1999, the cryptically titled The Fallen didn't release until 2000. This standout third-person shooter was developed by The Collective, aka Double Helix Games, and published by Simon & Schuster, aka a book publisher? With a story based on the Millennium trilogy of Deep Space Nine novels by the husband and wife writing team of Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens. Taking place during the latter part of Season 6, this game's plot introduces a trio of campaigns that can be played in any order, in which the player controls Captain Sisko, Commander Worf, and finally Major Kira in a long and overdue playable role for a Deep Space Nine game. Each character experiences the same events from a different perspective, and the player must traverse variants of the same shooting and platforming in order to experience the game in full. Kira's levels also introduce stealth, and characters like Worf have reduced weapon loadouts, which creates a difficulty ramp by playing each campaign in the suggested order. It's a lot to ask a casual player to play the more or less same campaign 3 times, but the extra content provides fans of the show with a lot to chew on, as the characters uncover a plot about ancient wormhole demons known as Pa-Wraiths, who have a significant role in the final season.
It's evil, Captain. Pure evil. You can't understand. Let me destroy it now, before it's too late.
And for those who know the events of the show, it's also an opportunity to explore the station in glorious early aughts 3D, and hear one final round of performances from actors whose characters didn't fare so well by the end of the show.
Blue markers. Good luck, Worf. And remember, I want you back in one piece.
Acknowledged. Warp out.
And while The Fallen focused on character development and close quarters combat, the final Deep Space Nine game from Gizmo Games sought to move as far away from that as possible. Their entry in the series, subtitled Dominion Wars, released in 2001, and was a hard left turn in terms of the style of the games fans had seen to date. This real-time strategy game, or RTS, worked to recreate the exciting space battles that CG animation allowed the creators of the TV show to finally include in a Star Trek show, after years of relying on clunky scale models and practical effects. And while the player could control the camera and make the gameplay feel more intense by seeing the action from right outside their ships, the reality is that the player is more often than not required to zoom way out for a god's view of the battlefield, a position from which they can command their fleet of 6 ships to attack, defend, or employ any number of tactical maneuvers against the enemy.
Enemy ship destroyed.
The final result isn't quite as tactically challenging or heart-pounding as the developers may have wanted, but it does allow for the kind of fleet maneuvering that featured so heavily during the war against the Dominion. The game includes the option to play online against human opponents and skirmishes against the AI, and best of all includes 2 story campaigns.
Stardate 51795.3. Our operatives on Cardassia have informed us that the Obsidian Order, the elite military intelligence unit of the Cardassian government, has regrouped from its losses at the Omarian Nebula.
The first campaign is a standard perspective in which the player can fight through the Dominion War on the side of the Federation.
Earth's fate is in your hands, Captain. Good luck and Godspeed.
Or a what-if scenario in which the fascist Dominion pushes back against the Federation and ultimately defeats them to rule the galaxy.
We will wipe the galaxy clean of their kind as an example to all who oppose us.
It's a twisted bit of alternate history that asks, hey, want to kill all the characters you know and love from the TV show?
Enemy ship destroyed.
Deep Space Nine went out with the last millennium and never got the star treatment of its progenitors, a fate that would befall every Star Trek after Next Generation.
I know I've got something to offer. I just need the chance to prove it.
However, the dedicated group of fans remained faithful, never forgetting the complex character development.
I'm a human being, damn it. You can deny me all you want, but you cannot deny Ben Sisko exists.
An underlying darkness of the show.
I've always known it. I should have killed every last one of them. I should have turned their planet into a graveyard the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. I should have killed them all.
As well as its overt goofiness.
All right, Niners, let's hear some chatter.
Hey, batter, 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 batter. Hey, batter, 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 batter.
Death to the opposition.
Video streaming services eventually allowed both returning viewers and new fans to enjoy the serialized nature of the show as they binge-watched to their heart's content.
All right, just stand where you are.
And so, Deep Space Nine and its beloved cast of characters settled into their place in the extended Star Trek media universe, including appearances in future video games. The most notable example is not just Deep Space Nine characters, but the entire station as a setting in the free-to-play MMO Star Trek Online. And its Victory is Life expansion that celebrated the show's 25th anniversary in 2018.
The Borg did some serious damage on the Kittimer. The EMH might be in command because no one else is fit to do so. I don't like this. The Borg haven't been seen in this quadrant for decades. This isn't a coincidence. We need the data from those probes.
It may not be a new standalone video game based on Deep Space Nine, but I'll take any chance to swing by Quark's Bar again for some Saurian brandy and a round or two on the dartboard.